If you're looking for a low-calorie juice recipe to support your weight loss journey, then you've clicked on the right video. My name's Adia and welcome to my channel, The Tree Hugger. Now, before we get too far into this video, I have to admit something to y'all. I kind of tricked you earlier when I said that this is a low-calorie juice recipe. I know, now hold on. The full truth is that while this is a low-calorie juice recipe, pretty much all fruit and vegetable juices are low-calorie. Some juices will have slightly more calories than others, but the reality is that the juicing process itself removes the pulp from the produce. The pulp is what contains majority of the calories because that's where most of the natural sugars and the fibers are. So while this juice recipe will absolutely support you in consuming a low-calorie, high-nutrient drink, well, so will most other juice recipes. I hope this submission does not make you run away in the other direction because today's recipe is so delicious and it's one of my favorites. As you can see, this recipe is going to use Honeycrisp apples, cucumber, celery, lemon, and ginger. I personally love this combination of fruits and veggies, but if you are averse to any of them or even allergic, just keep watching because later in this video, I will recommend the best substitute for each of these ingredients. Y'all know I had to bust out my J2 juicer for this recipe because if you can't tell already by the incredible amount of produce here, I am going to be batch juicing to last me several days. Batch juicing for this long usually involves a ton of prep work, but the hopper on the J2 is so much larger than any of my other juicers, which means that I really don't have to do as much as I usually do. Even though there's a lot less prep involved and it's not nearly as much as with my other juicers, I am gonna do obviously some prepping to make my life a little bit easier. So far I'm just coring my apples, taking out the center to make sure that there aren't any hard seeds ending up in my juicer. If you don't like apples, peaches can be a good substitute here. All I did was cut around the center of the apple and what's left inside are gonna be those hard seeds that we wanna keep out of the juicer. So next up, I'm just gonna chop the ends off of my cucumbers and then I'm cutting them in half so that they'll more easily fit inside the hopper. But for now, I'm just putting everything in my bowl. Nama does sell an extra large hopper that I'm probably gonna end up purchasing just because I batch juice so much. If you don't like cucumber, a good substitute here would be to either double up on the celery, or if you don't like cucumber or celery, I would go ahead and try using iceberg lettuce or honeydew melon. Of course, the melon is gonna make this juice sweeter, which is delicious, but keep in mind that fruit juice does contain more natural sugars, so maybe try it out with the iceberg lettuce or another vegetable. And I specify iceberg lettuce because it does have a high water content. I know I didn't show this stuff, but like, please make sure you're properly cleaning all of your produce before you juice it. I wash all of my fruits and veggies, even the ones that have a peel, you know, they can have a wax on them. So it's just a good practice to properly wash everything and make sure there's no dirt or any other things you don't want in your juice trapped inside. The process of juicing does produce a lot of leftover bits and pieces like peels, roots, cores, whatever it may be. And there's a lot more that you can do with those instead of just throwing them away. Celery is another example. It comes with that like base on it. I like to just cut that off, put it in a Ziploc bag, throw it in the fridge or freezer, depending on how long it's gonna be until I use it. And then when I'm ready, I'll make it into either a vegetable broth or a seafood stock, which just tastes better than the store-bought anyways. So definitely recommend exploring what you can do with all the extra bits and pieces. Now for my lemons, I'm obviously just going through and cutting off the peel, but I also like to take special attention to remove the pith, this little white flesh here. I take my time here because the pith can be really bitter, and if you put it in your juice, then your juice is gonna be bitter as well. The last ingredient for today's recipe is some ginger. Ginger has a very, very strong flavor, so I'm only gonna add in about a 2-inch piece. Unfortunately, there really isn't a substitute for ginger, at least one that I know of. So if you don't like it or you can't eat it, I would just omit it from the recipe altogether. Okay, our ingredients are all prepped. Now it's time to juice. I'm gonna do a little cleanup and a little rearranging, and then I'll be right back. When working to lose body fat, the only way to really achieve that is to be in a calorie deficit. So whether you're increasing your activity levels so that you burn more calories than you consume, or whether that's consuming fewer calories than you normally would while staying at the same activity level. Either way works. And whichever you choose is really all about what's going to work best for your lifestyle and your goals. Now, the flip side of the coin is that even while you're consuming fewer calories, you still have to consume enough calories. If you don't eat enough calories to support your body's function, it will go into starvation mode. When the body is in starvation mode, it is holding on to fat for dear life, which works completely against your goal of losing weight in the first place. Juice recipes like the one I'm making today are a great way to introduce more nutrients and hydration into your diet without adding on many additional calories. Like I said earlier, all juice recipes are generally low calorie, but But that doesn't mean you can't customize your juice in a way that better supports your weight loss journey. For example, you can prioritize using ingredients that support your body's metabolic function, such as those that are high in B vitamins, iron, and even caffeine. Citrus fruits like oranges are a great way to get in some B vitamins, and apricots, prunes, and leafy greens are a great way to add in some iron. Fiber is another great way to support your metabolic function. The only challenge with that is that the juicing process does remove obviously a lot of the pulp, and that's where the fiber lives. So how do we get around this? You could make juice with pulp, which is nasty, but it's still an option. Some juicer models like the Nama J2 cold press juicer here, they actually include a coarse strainer option, which can be switched out with the finer juice strainer and used to leave some pulp in your juice. Now, weight loss is of course about so much more than what we consume. It's about moving our bodies, it's about getting enough sleep, reducing stress, having fun, going outside, so much more. All right, y'all, so obviously I finished juicing. I just moved my juicer off to the side, and now I'm gonna combine the remaining juice that was made. So that first batch of juice gave me 1,750 milliliters, and the second batch gave me a little bit less than 750 milliliters. So that brings me to about 2,500 milliliters in total. Oh, that was kind of a tongue twister to say. It might seem so extra that I am combining my juice in this big pitcher here, because I am just gonna transfer it over to my glass containers here now. I think these are so pretty, and then you get to see the beautiful color of the juice very clearly. But why do I put it in here first? I put it in here first because think about it. If I put the first batch of juice in here and the second batch of juice in here, they would end up tasting different because the order of ingredients as they go into the juicer is different. So you put it all in one pitcher so that it has an opportunity to mix up, and then you can separate it out into your cute little glass jars like I like to do. And here we have it, an easy and delicious low-calorie juice to support your weight loss goals. I'm gonna now taste this juice in a wine glass. Sometimes you wanna give your juice like a little shake to make sure that any of the natural settling gets mixed up. Beautiful, look at that. Let's taste. Oh, this is so yummy. If you haven't already gotten in the car to go get the ingredients for this juice, you need to get on it right now. If you end up trying this recipe as is or with any of the substitutions, make sure you comment below and let me know what you think. Thanks for watching.